Reflections of a One-Breasted Woman. It's been a week, 7 days, since I ventured out of the hospital. This temple of healing, painkillers in hand, bandages across my chest, a plastic syringe attached to my wound as it quietly drains out blood and fluid. The last vestiges to the sacrifice. 7 days later, and I have still not looked at my breast, my absent breast, the one that is no longer. The bandage holds it invisible, the scar too raw, too blood-red raw to take in. I haven't been brave enough yet. Even as my left breast has now been sacrificed on the altar of healing and the cancerous tumor removed, I can still feel its palpable presence. Like the wounded soldiers in the trenches in the wars who would report that even though their limbs were amputated, they could still feel the presence of their lost limbs, their phantom presence. I too feel tingles in my absent breast, tiny electric pulses that make me gasp, as if there is still a current of blood and milk coursing through its intricate tributaries. The ghosts of my breast are still there. I can sense them, now as an invisible, energetic blueprint. I've been reading Audre Lorde's cancer journals, in which she speaks about her mastectomy in her right breast at the age of 44. She would die 12 years later. She's horrified by the pressure to wear prosthetics and then to consider reconstruction soon after surgery. "This is cancer, for God's sake," she cries out, "not cosmetic surgery." Losing one's breast to cancer is facing a precipice of death, not peering into a window of getting back to normal as quickly as possible, the symmetry of silicone implants now in place, perky and perfect. Here, woman is objectified, cosmeticized, sexualized. What does a one-breasted woman do with all this? My sister, who spends hours and hours creating the perfect, sexy, toned body, is uncomfortable as I speak on my decision perhaps to go into the world with one breast. "But what if you meet a man?" she says. "What then?" Something in me stirs, a quiet rebellion against all that is deemed conventionally feminine, normal, sexy even. "If I meet a man and fall in love," I say to her, "he will love the woman I am, one breast and all. My wholeness has not been sacrificed. My authenticity has not fled. I have simply let go of one part of my anatomy. My breasts do not define who I am in the world." I couldn't write with such clarity if I had not touched that place of raw grief and terrifying loss that Sunday morning, just 2 days before my surgery. I was kneeling at my meditation altar. A candle was lit, gazing at a photograph of my beloved guru, Sathya Sai Baba. The sounds of a healing Vedic mantra filled the room with quiet chant, carrying me into a place of deep quiet as I let myself descend into my sorrow. I took my left breast in my arms and cradled her like a tender baby, letting my tears wash over her as my anguished cries of "goodbye, goodbye, goodbye" broke me down, slowly, slowly. I sobbed, I wailed, I cried out to God. This was a woman's primal cry of grief. This was a woman's farewell lament. And yet, what gave me the strength to meet this overwhelming sense of grief was the soothing sounds of the mantra and the steady gaze of the eyes of Sai Baba. Both held me, as if to say, "You are not abandoned. You are not alone in your pain. There is grace in your grief. Surrender to it. And I surrendered. What I learned at that moment was this. If I had not let myself break open into this grief, if I had not surrendered to this piercing loss, I would not have healed as well as I am doing now. If I had gone into my cancer journey holding only on to my stoic strength, positivity, and cheerful optimism, a place in which I can so easily reside, I would only have been half prepared for the impending journey. My grief, this cutting edge of sorrow for the loss of my breast, was the portal I had to walk through. It was my initiation into my fire path. Sunday. It is now 10 days since the surgery. I have plucked up the courage to look at my body in the bathroom mirror. I realize that through this entire time of grieving my breast, I have neglected my right breast, the one that remains. I have paid her no attention. It is as if she has not been there. I begin to massage her tenderly with some fragrant oils. And then from the never-ending depths of grief, I begin to weep. Your sister has left you. She has gone. She has gone. I have never before seen my two breasts as two sisters who had shared secrets and delights, intimacy and nourishment for my babies. This thought of their kinship touched me deeply. I've always liked to say that grief and gratitude are like two sisters on the path of our lives. One cannot exist without the other. And today, as I feel the soft contours of my remaining breast, as I gaze at her with such tenderness, I'm filled with an immense gratitude for her, a gratitude that I can hold even as I grieve over her sister's demise. There is this beautiful dogwood tree in my garden. She overshadows the other trees in her beauty, especially in July, when she emerges like a regal queen with a crown of frothy white summer blooms. Her blossoms are now long gone as autumn descends. There are some chestnut-like seed pods hanging from her branches, ready to germinate next summer. She has been pruned and sheared, trimmed and cut in preparation for next summer's resplendence. Let me now see myself as a woman who too has been pruned, sheared and cut, a woman who has sacrificed her breast on the altar of healing so that she too will blossom next summer with wonder, abundant delight, and radiant vitality. Let this vision now become my lantern of healing. Let this vision now hold me.